All right, we're recording. Today is Tuesday, the 27th of September, and we're going to continue on with the project we've been working on. I did send out an email right before class, literally about 10 minutes ago, where I've alluded to 3 different articles that I've asked you to try to look at for tomorrow. One from the Mozilla Developer Network on routes and controllers, one from medium.com on routes and controllers, and one from this, I don't know, Eric Chapman guy. All right. If you could try to look at one or more of those, please, for tomorrow. In addition, there are 3 videos I'd like you to watch, and that's for Monday. Now, I will tell you about these quickly. This one is about 50 minutes long, but it seemed to be very extensive. I watched the first 15 or 20 minutes of it. This second one, I was going to recommend that you look at Brad Traversy's MongoDB crash course, rather, but it's 3 years old. So recently, Brad had a guy who works for MongoDB kind of redo it, and it's 27 minutes long. I watched the first half of that, and the guy works for MongoDBs, and you can kind of tell by the way he talks. All right. Finally, if you look at this one, this is what I'm going to use basically when we do the install next week. So the plan is by the end of the period today, and it may be a shorter lecture because the idea was to give you a CRUD application here. We've got the read working. All right, we're going to get the create working today. We're going to get the delete working today. I have no doubt about either one of those. But that said, I'm having problems with the update. I wanted to do a patch instead of a put, but for some reason I'm having some problems with the system recognizing my ID. I don't know why. So rather than sit there and hem and haw my way through it and give you a bunch of garbage, once we get done today with the once we get done today with the create and with the delete, that'll pretty much be it. And again, tomorrow I hope to be able to do 2 things, and that is to give you the update part, also go over these articles that I've asked you to take a look at up here, and give you what will be the equivalent of your test on this stuff. So after we do that, the rest of Wednesday and all of Thursday and Friday will be a lab for you to complete that stuff. All right, so with that said, let's get in and start working on the stuff that we've got in here, okay? Now, if you, I'm going to change my share here. I'm going to go, and I'm going to change my share to Visual Studio, okay? All right. I put this out yesterday on the system as a GitHub repo, and it should be working, etc. right now. So if you do go out and I do my npm run dev start, all right, it comes up, it says that it's running. I had to change my port. You may have had this happen to you already, you may not have, but if I have the system running, okay, hopefully you can let him in, John. If I have the system running and well, says he's still trying to get in, I don't know. John, can you let Clayton or whomever it is in, please? It's not letting me. So let's see. How about this? People. There we go. All right. Okay. Hello, Clayton. We're quickly going over what we did yesterday, and I saved it yesterday as a GitHub repo. All right. And I'm not sure still what the problem was with the formatting, but it seems to have been fixed. We're going to look at it in a minute, but what I was just saying was, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but if I have a node application running and technically I haven't shut it down, so if I've got it running on the browser and then I try to bring it up again, I sometimes get a message that there's already that process is already running and that port is in use. So I changed the port I had been using, which was 1111 to 1112. All right, just so you're aware of that. Okay. So if I go out, and yes, I will have to change this in just a second. So, but I'm going to go to localhost colon 1112/books. All right. So let me change my share here. And there, whoop, there it is. All right. And right now, delete doesn't do anything. It says cannot post books, delete. We're going to fix that in just a moment. And the edit also doesn't do anything. So the plan is for today, all right, we want to be able to create a new book, okay, and we want to be able to delete an existing book. We're going to start with a delete mainly because it's easier. Then we will work into the create. And I know, Clayton, you were came in a little bit late. Not that you were late, but you get the idea. And what I did mention was uh, right before class, I sent out an email with a few articles for you to please try to look at for tomorrow. And I'm going to go over those articles tomorrow. In addition, by Monday of next week, if you could watch the videos that are shown here. All right. This video right here, this one in 2021, is about 48 minutes long, but it was very extensive. I watched a portion of it. This one, I was going to have people watch the Brad Traversy's MongoDB crash course, but it's about 3 years old. So Brad this year had a guy who works for Mongo redo it, and it's 27 minutes long. There'll be a lot of duplication between the two. So if you'd rather just watch one or the other, that's your call, of course. And this is some of the instructions that are in here. This is about one of the better YouTube's things that I found as far as being able to install Mongo. So those are what we're going to start going through on Monday. All right. So with that said, then the idea is, all right, I want to be able to come in, and you can see because I've got to practice one of these that I've been using too, and I've removed a bunch of my stuff already. Plus, if you go down to the bottom, you'll notice I was able to insert one. All right. But right now, of course, none of this will work for what we're doing. All right. And none of it'll work because we don't have the delete basically set up for us. Okay. So again, when I click on delete, it says cannot post books delete. And when I click on edit, it says cannot post books edit. All right. So we're going to look at those, and we're going to look at a create also in just a bit. Now, I do want to mention one thing before we go in, and my hope is, all right, my hope is what I'm saying now will make sense. Okay. What you see on your screen right now, or hopefully you see on your screen, unless I screwed up with my shares, is you see a thing on here that says show all books. This is a get. All right. But as soon as we click right here, we are going to want to perform an action. And once we perform that action, we're going to want to basically bring this back up again with that book deleted. The reason I'm telling you that is what you see on here right now was done via a get. All right. But when we click the delete button, we're going to want to perform an operation that's going to change the system. And when I say change the system, I should say change the database, whether we're doing a delete or an edit. And in both those cases, we're going to be doing a post. All right. So I just wanted to mention that before we started up with anything else. So let me change my share yet once again. Not to there, but to there. Go back to Visual Studio Code. All right. And in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to bring up app.js. All right. So far in app.js, we set up all our variables. I'm not going over those again. We added our middleware. All right. We set up our connection to the database. We attempted to connect to the database, and we started to define our routes. But you'll notice the only routes that are in here, so that'll have to be a 2 now, I guess. The only routes that are in here are just if we try to go to the home page, it comes back and it says hello world. And if we go out to right here to localhost, yours is probably still 1111. It doesn't matter. Then it should run the select statement, all right? And then it should render everything back. And to my knowledge, at least, you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, that's exactly what's happening. That's what we wanted to have happen, and that's what's happening. All right, so let's go in next and we'll talk about the delete statement. All right, so as you'd probably guess, because I've already mentioned this to you, this is going to be an app.post. All right, so this is, what did I do right here? Not right there, Jeff. All right, so when I come down here, all right, so that's going to be basically localhost here, and then this is going to end up being a delete. The equivalent of delete right there. All right, so let's start to write that one right now. Let me bring that up. There we go. So app.post, it's not even really very long, but we will want to end up going here to /books/delete. All right, we're not going to go there directly. We are not going to go there directly. This is the route that we want to go to when we click that delete button. All right. And again, if you remember when we clicked that button, it came up and it said, cannot go to post book/delete. That's why we're writing this particular route right now. All right. So as always, we'll have our request and our response. So let's put our code in there. The first thing we need is the ID. All right. And then we just want to set up a query. It's a pretty simple query. All right. Now we have set up the ID right here. Okay. So we can either write the query directly, or what I typically do is I put the query inside of a string. So I've got here const query equal delete from books where underscore ID equals question mark. All right. You should already be familiar enough with this from all the training that you have had using MySQL of how to do a delete. All right. And we even talked about this when we did look at some delete operations. And we mentioned that when you delete, the best way to delete is to go in and delete using the ID. Because again, with each ID being unique, you won't have to worry about deleting more than one thing. Okay, so with that said, then we're going to run the query. So we've got our con.query, and we want to run the query. We have to give it the ID, and that can either give us an error or it can give us results. All right, again, result, it's just one record, so I put it as result. All right. So what do we want to have happen? Well, we basically want the system to again show us, we want the system to show us the screen, and if we want it to show us the screen with our record removed. Now you don't have to do this, but I thought it'd be kind of nice to at least put a console.log in there and say something like record with ID removed. So something along those lines. All right. You don't have to do that, but that should log out the message. So if I try to come in there and remove record 8, it should say record with ID 8 removed. Okay, something like that. Once we do that then, and we've done this before, I want to do a con.query, where we again do a select star from books. Again, we get either an error or we get the result. And we do a res.render of our index page. And we need that result. So that's it. So let's take a minute and go through everything that's going on here before we even go in and try to run it. So I'm going to do a save right here. Okay. So again, this is our delete route. This route, actually, if I go back into, I believe it's my index.ejs file. If I go back down towards the bottom, remember we added these two buttons. So this, again, was our delete. So it says action equals /books/delete. So again, that is the mini form that we have associated with that red button for each record that says delete. So when it gets to that, it's going to go through and look in our app.js file for an app.post with books delete. And there it is. So we grab the ID because we need to know what ID is associated with this request. And then we just say delete from books where underscore ID, remember that's the name in the database, is equal to this ID that we just put in here. Then we attempt to run the query. The query needs that piece of information that we just provided there. That's this. And again, we can either get an error or a result. All right. So we're going to log here that the record with that ID was removed. And then we should be able to come in here and try to bring everything up. Now, with the kind of luck I had yesterday, we're going to have some problems with this. I don't know why we would. The code is all correct as far as I know. But I am going to do one more time a file save. I believe in my console that everything is still up and running. It is. So I don't see any errors in there, which is always a good thing. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to change my share. I'm going to go out to the internet, and where I am right here, I'm just going to grab a record. All right, you can grab any one you want, but I'm going to grab number 12 here. RESTful API, web API designed with Node.js. I'm going to click delete, and what you should notice is it's gone. All right. So we have removed record 12. Now, what I also should be able to do here is, and I'm looking for where I've got it up here and I don't see it. But if I go back into PHP my admin, all right, and I go back into the books DB database, all right, and I go to books and I start looking in here, you should notice, because I've got a lot more removed probably than you do, but number 12 that we just grabbed is no longer there. And again, you should always verify after you've gone through and done this. So again, you already know this, but if I say select star from books where underscore ID equal 12, this should now fail. And that should be an underscore. Where underscore ID equal 12, it comes back and it says, I mean, it doesn't fail, but it just shows me that there is nothing. All right, it says returned an empty result set. All right. So again, I could always come back here and just select everything from books right there, run it, and that's what you saw before. All right. Any questions on that? Did you both try that? Did it work? Any problems?
I'm still running mine.
Now, again, if you do run into any problems, what we will do by the end of the class today is I will upgrade and update my repo and put it out there again. So if for some reason yours does not work, all right, you should be able to go back and take a look at it. But like I said, there really and truly should be no problems with it. Okay.
Yeah, I get mine that says cannot post/delete.
All right. So you did go back in, you've saved everything, and let me jump back into here. So your route looks like this. I mean, you put in everything that we've got because it should be there. All right. Now, again, if it's not, and I believe you, you can either pull down the repo when we get done today if you want to do that. All right. Or if you don't want to do that, um, you can email me or zip your folder and email it to me, and after I get done lecturing today, I'll be more than happy to take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, because I just saved it again, and now every time I hit delete, just nothing happens.
Okay.
Just like
Clayton,
refreshes the page.
did yours work, Clayton?
Oh, yes, mine works.
Okay. So John, like I said, I probably have to see your code in order to be able to try to help debug it. Okay. All right. So we now have the R for read and the D for delete done. All right. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to go in and we want to do an insert. All right. And let's see. Okay. We'll just flip this around a little bit. We'll write the route first. And I've actually got a cheat sheet, but I left it on my kitchen table and I'm in the bedroom. So when I get done with this route, when we get done writing this, before we go back in and make some changes, all right, and add another file, I'll have to leave for just a minute and then come back again. Okay, so with that said, let's go and create the post route. Now remember, we already looked at it. I'm not bringing it up again because I'd have to change my share. But this right now is not on any button. We've only got buttons right now. We've only got a button. We've got a button for each record that allows you to delete that record. And we've got another button that allows you to edit any record. It doesn't make sense to put an add button by each one of those. That really makes no sense. So probably if we were going to put this onto our interface, we may very well put that right at the top. Put a button right there at the top to do something like that then. All right. So if you try right now to do an insert, you'd get an error, and that error would say cannot post /books/insert, because again, we don't have any route for that. So let's write one. Again, this will be /books/insert. All right, I'm going to move this up a bit. Okay. All right. As always, we'll need the ID. All right. And we're going to build a form in just a minute. And it's going to be an empty form. All right. Now, when we do this, we're not going to be adding the ID because remember, we've set it up as an auto increment field. But this is going to represent the ID that we want to put in for the new record. All right. So we're going to have title. All right, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna just run into my kitchen quick and grab my cheat sheet, and I'll let you key in all that stuff, and then we'll come back and talk about it literally in about 1 minute. So now remember, these are requests. This is the stuff that's going to end up coming in from our form. All right. So you already know this. Don't type this, but if we wanted to enter a record in, we'd have to do something like this. We'd have to say insert into, I'm going to get rid of this in just a minute, books, and then we put in parentheses, title, author, publisher, edition, year, category, ISBN, rating. All right, then we'd say something like values. And then again, in parentheses, we'd have all those values. Well, we have to do the same kind of thing right now. All right, so how do we do that? Now, I'm taking for granted you've had time that you're all caught up and you're literally about right where I am then. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to set up the query. Okay. So again, I'm going to say, and as I mentioned to you before, there's really a couple of ways that we can do this. All right, but the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to say again, const query equals. Now this is going to be a long line. I will put word wrap on. So again, I am turning on word wrap. Okay. So insert into books and kind of what I just showed you. In other words, title, author, publisher, edition, year, category, ISBN, rating. All right, so we want all of that stuff. And then we can say values, question mark, and then end our double quote. All right, now we're not done yet. And I don't know why I put a double quote there, or if I did, I must have. All right. So this is the query that we're going to run. We're telling it to insert, but notice right now for values, we've got a question mark. We're going to fix that in just a moment. It's not wrong the way it is. All right. So I'll give you a second to key that in. Now, before we run the query, again, when we run it, we're going to have to let the system know what it is we want to put in there. Now, I want to show you something. Please don't type. Just watch this because I want to show you, and you may or may not agree as far as which way is easier. I could come in here right now and type in con.query, all right, and then put in here query, and then put a curly brace in there and list every one of these fields again. All right, so I could grab all of those. Just like that. All right, and it would work. But a more recommended way of doing this, I'm going to grab this stuff here and take it out of here, is to break it up over a couple of commands. So I'm going to come here and say this. All right, I'm going to say const values equal. And I'm not sure why they've got it set up like this, but they do. You need to end up literally creating an array within an array. You'll oftentimes see it like this. Maybe half and half or whatever. And again, that's just the way that they've got it set up in here. So we're, rather than sticking all those values into here directly again, which we could do, you'll see it done typically more often like this. So then when we do our con.query line, now this literally becomes query. And then in here, we just put values, and it's going to put those in for us. All right. And again, we can have an error, or we can get results. I guess it's a result because we're adding a record. All right. And what do we want to do then? Well, we've done this several times. We just did it in here, and that is I want to grab this. So that's everything. We set up the query. We set up an array with our values, and then we run the query. And again, is it possible I made a mistake? Heck, with me, it's always possible. We can't run this yet. All right. We cannot run this yet because we have to end up creating another EJS page first. But I'll give you just a minute or two to hopefully catch up. So taking this from the top with our insert route, we bring in, all right, again, this will be, for lack of better words, this will be the auto generated ID, all right? And these will be the form fields, all right? We're making the request via the form, okay? And I'll put here, set up string for query, all right? Set up values array. And there's nothing special. I mean, if you decide that, you know what, I'd really rather have that here like this, and I'd like to put all of them on one line, it really and truly does not matter. All right. Mine's wrapping anyway, so I just got it like this. Okay, then finally, we come in here. Oops. And we run the query. And again, assuming that it works, then we're just saying, hey, show us this. So show us everything. All right. And again, I'm assuming that if, as we go through this, if it doesn't make a boatload of sense, that you're going to ask. All right. Next week, when we start working with MongoDB, a lot of this code is going to be similar. It won't be the same, but a lot of it will be similar. All right, we'll be doing a lot of things though differently. You'll be creating a models folder. You'll be setting up schema. And it's funny that we're setting up schema because you typically always set up a schema when you work with MongoDB. And the reason I'm saying that that's funny is MongoDB is known as a schemaless language. The biggest difference that you're going to find next week when we start talking about this stuff is in many ways, MySQL is very regimented. In other words, if you look at the stuff we had in here for books, the system expected that every book had a title, an author, a publisher, and etc. Now, if you didn't put in a title, it automatically got set up to the empty string. Same with the author, same, etc. But I think the author, the publisher, and the edition, those were all numeric fields. They would just be set to 0. All right. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do then, and I got to go back and check in here. So let's see, not partials. All right, I've got an index. So what I want you to do is not under partials, but under views. Under your views folder, right mouse click, and we are going to create a new file. We can call it whatever we want, but it seems to make sense to call it something like insert.ejs. All right, to me at least that makes sense. Do not put that file in your partials folder. All right, make sure that that file is like the index is under views, but not under partials. All right, and I thought I went back into my kitchen and I was looking for the my cheat sheet. I don't have it, but I do have it kind of electronically. So I'm going to see if I can grab it from here. All right. Now we call this insert. Let's not do that. We're creating a new record. Let's call it create. So let's just change the name right away. Let's make it create.ejs. I want you to come up with names that are reminiscent of what we're doing. All right, we are creating a record. All right, yes, we will insert it into the database, but I want you to use the name, please, create. All right, so what I just did was I grabbed it, I think. All right, and this is what we're going to put in. Now, if you look here, at the top, we will have our include partials head and our include partials navbar. All right, I'll give you time to work on this, so don't worry about it. Then we're going to create a form, and I'm not sure if I can put my foot in there. I don't know if I had a problem with my foot area. When I went back and just put in this stuff yesterday, and everything was working. So let me give you this. I'm going to remove this, and I'll just, let you start typing. All right. In fact, I'm going to have to, for this, I'm going to have to probably run this over multiple lines so you can see everything. In fact, don't I have word wrap on? Nope, I do not. There you go. So it's go up to here. We should have an H2 at the top of the screen, and it should be centered that says create new book. Then we'll create the form afterward. All right. So if you would please just start typing. I'll give you just a couple minutes and then I'll move this down. We're gonna get a break in too in just a couple minutes, so. I take for granted you've got those lines in blue already done, so I'm gonna move this down. Right there. I would strongly suggest that after you type in this line, whoops, after you type in this line here, that you type in this and then copy it down, because you're gonna be doing the same thing every time. So rather than, doing that a bunch of times, but that's your call, of course. But I would copy that, and then when you copy it down, you'll want to be making changes in here. What do I mean? Well, technically, even though mine is, I'm looking at it, it's actually wrong, but you'll want to change. So this will be title, that'll be author, etc. All right. And really any one that's numeric, I should have set the input type to number. I didn't. It still works, but I should have done that. Okay. So it is 12:53, and I'll tell you what, just so I'm sure you've got plenty of time to finish this up. All right, I'm going to give you till 1:10, so that's 17 minutes, and hopefully you'll have enough time to key this in and get a break in there. We'll pick it up then at 1:10. All right, it is 1:10, so I'm going to start back up. As I mentioned, we built the form, and each one of these basically has a label and an input. All right, and there's one for title, one for author, etc. Now, many of the fields that are in here, like the author, really should have been a number field. And the publisher should have been a number field because I used numbers for those. They were foreign keys. The edition also should have been a number field. The year should have been a number field. And for the year, that would have been a time if you wanted to, for any of these, you could have put in minimums and maximums too. Category again should have been a number field. All right. ISBN, I guess we could say that it's a number field, but you want to make sure because sometimes people put a dash in there with their ISBN. So I think I would leave that one as a text field, to be honest with you. The rating, I would make that a number field as well. So you've got a plethora, as they say, of number fields in here. All right. So I'm going to do a file and a save. All right. Then I'm going to double check here and it looks like right now the server has restarted when I look at my NodeMon output. As I was making changes, of course, I broke it. So that's, I've told you this before, that some people like to actually work on this and keep the server up and running so it'll catch any errors as you're typing stuff in, and some don't like it for the same reason. Now, not sure if it's going to work or not. Again, always knowing my luck, but I'm going to do a file save. I'm going to go into my share here, and I'm going to go back to share on the internet, and now I'm right here. All right. So while I'm right here, I am going to do my local host again, colon, slash, or no, not slash, localhost, colon, 1112/books. And that brings everything up. That looks good. All right. And now I'm going to try to actually come in here and do I think it is a /insert. Uh-oh, cannot get books insert unless it was the create. Let's try that. Oh boy. I may know what the problem is, and we'll go check it right now. Okay, as we go back in here for our form, let's see, where did we tell it to go? No, we said /book/insert. That is correct. So /book/insert. And when I go to my app.js, the route was /book/insert. All right, let me save that too. Everything should be saved. Now, John, I may be getting the same error that you got before. I'm not sure, but I will go back and look at it, see if I can figure out what the problem is. All right. So there's our home page, so to speak. That's technically our home page, but going to books, that's our home page. Well, it's giving me cannot get books. All right. And I know what the problem is. And hopefully, you know what the problem is as well. All right, we did a post route, but we didn't do a get route for this. We did not do a get route. All right. Now, I'm not even sure if you know what I'm talking about. So let's go back and let's talk about why this isn't working. All right. Remember, if you want to show something, not change it, but if you want to show something, you need to put in a get route. So we need to bring back up our app.js file, and right before the books insert, and this will be very short, it's only 2 or 3 lines, I'm going to put in an app.get, and I'm going to say for /books/create. All right. And /book/create is going to call, that get route is going to call the posts /book/insert. All right. So again, we need our request and our response. And there's not a whole lot we've got to do in here. All right. All that we basically want to do is a res.render create. Put that in if you would, please. And I'm really hoping that it's coming where it makes sense to you, where you're seeing request in gray and response blackened out, or response in gray or RES and request or REQ. All right. Are we sending something out or are we getting something back? So let me do a file save. All right. Let me go in and change my share back to the internet. All right. I am going to, well, that's fine. I'll do it like that. All right. So now I am going to go to localhost colon 1112 /books/create. And there we've got it. Now, if you don't like the way this looks, you could change this around any way you want it. But I'm going to attempt to put in a new book. All right. So the history of Node.js. You can put anything you want in here. Remember, this is a number field, so I'll just put in 1. This is a number field, so I'll put in 1. This is a number field, so again, I'll put in 1. For the year, I'll just put in 2022. For the category, remember 3 was information technology. For the ISBN, I want to make sure I'm putting in something that I know hasn't been used. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. I'm just making this up. And for the rating, I'll give it a 5. So I'm right now, all right, I put in localhost colon 1112 /books/create. All right. And then put this in. Okay, and click submit. Now let's see if it's there at the bottom or if it's not there at the bottom. There's the history of Node 111-2022. All right. And there's the ISBN. Now, had I left anything out of there, then what should have happened by default is that it should have been added, a default should have been put in there. Numeric fields should have gone in as 0, and string fields should have gone in as the empty string. Now, typically, you would go in and you would check all that stuff. All right. So again, I mean, I could go for the rest of the semester just talking about MySQL. I don't want to do that because MySQL is probably only used about 10 to 25% of the time. And most of the rest of the time for Node, you're going to be using Mongo, which is why I want to get into that as soon as possible. So if I don't want this book anymore now, from what we did before, I can click and now it's gone. And you'll notice Boom, it's down to 30. So right now, with the 4 CRUD operations, we've got create working, which we did today. We've got read working, which we did yesterday. We don't have update working yet. I'm hoping to get that done and to be able to give you that tomorrow. And we've got delete working. All right. So I had absolutely no idea how long this was all going to take, but I want to mention one more time, all right, that I would like you to take a look at these articles for tomorrow. This is where I'm going to go into. Hopefully I'll have the update working by tomorrow. I'll do my best, promise. All right. And we will go over the highlights of these 3 articles. The first article is quite extensive. It's from the Mozilla Developer Network. The second one, I think, is more practical. All right. And the last one is just a short one. It's kind of a little summary, so to speak. And then you've got these 3 videos. All right. Again, the first one is the most extensive. It's about 48 minutes plus. The second one is 27 minutes plus. You can see they're both pretty up to date, 2021 and 2022. And the last one is what I'm going to use basically as we go in and start to, next week, we start to go in and work with MongoDB. Now, when we do this with Mongo, I want to mention this to you. This is about the last thing I'll say. And that is some of the stuff I'm going to show you how to do it, but I'm not going to do it. What I mean is, like, when we, I will show you how to sign up for an account and do a bunch of other things along those lines. But I've already got an account. So I'll only get you to a certain point, and then I'll let you finish it up on your own. All right. So hopefully what I just said made some sense. All right. There was one more thing I wanted to check, and then I was going to basically call it a period. I was going to go out to udemy.com. I take a lot of courses through Udemy. So let's see. I didn't know if they had any free courses on MongoDB. They occasionally have free stuff. And let's see. Node.js filter. It's prevalent. Highest noticed. Show more. Show less level. All beginners. Beginner. Price. Free. All right. If you're interested, if you're not, fine, you're not. But if you're interested, it looks like if you go out to udemy.com, they've got quite a few courses that are free on MongoDB. I haven't looked at these, so I have no idea. In fact, I may have gone through this one. Mongo, anything by Patrick Schroeder, I think I at least looked at, but that was a couple of years ago. The point is, you may want to go out and take a look at some of these. All right. I mean, if you look at one and it's rated real poorly, I probably wouldn't give it much of a look, but just looking very quickly here, I have no idea how good any of these are, but it looks like they've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 or 10 of them. All right, if you got an interest. So when we start tomorrow, I'll give you up to date what I've got as far as being able to get the update to work. Hopefully we'll get that done. Then we'll have every bit of this finished. I'm going to also try to have your requirements document for what I want you to do next. All right. Once we get done with that, we will talk about routing. All right. We may even change some of the stuff we've already done to see if we can get it to work. All right. And we'll see where we are after that. I know Thursday and Friday will both be labs for the entire period. And the reason for that is, again, even though I'm not going to make whatever I give you for a test or whatever you want to call it, it won't be due until October 9th, which is a week from Sunday. So to my knowledge, you don't have anything due this Sunday. So everybody will be marked present because I didn't give any homework. All right. But I want to take the Mongo stuff slowly but surely. And what I mean is, I want us to go in there and look at Mongo. And when you work with Mongo, you can do it in different ways. All right. And what I mean is, we will work both from a very GUI type of look, but it's totally different from what you see in PHP MyAdmin. And we'll also do it from the command line. All right. Just so you get some opportunity to do it with both. We will be creating some databases next week. Once we create them, we will be running CRUD operations on them. But what we will do to start off with is we will run those CRUD operations manually. So in other words, we're just going to be creating a bunch of queries. All right. I may or may not, I don't know, but I may end up creating some kind of a worksheet too, where I ask you to create a MongoDB database and then put in some records and run a bunch of queries against it. We'll see where we are at this point next week. All right. So it was kind of an abbreviated class today, just about an hour and 20 minutes. Sorry about that, but we'll pick it up tomorrow. So hopefully you've got an idea what's going on, and I will talk to you then. Thanks.